Maybe you've heard that almost half of new businesses fail within the first 5 years, but here's what most people miss. The people who started those businesses did all the right things, they just did them in the wrong order. I'm Ross Johnson. I've grown 5 businesses past $1 million per year doing exactly what I'm about to show you. This video is your map, 5 steps in order to take you from zero to $1 million business. Whether you're a therapist, a fitness coach, or a consultant, it really doesn't matter. If you ever wanted to turn what you know into a real business, this is the map for you. It all starts with picking a high demand problem. Most people start their business by asking, what am I passionate about? And it's really the wrong question. I know because I asked that question for 3 years straight. During those 3 years, I failed at everything. And I always followed the same process. I picked something I was passionate about, and I tried to build a business around it. One year, I was really into herbalism. I studied it for months. I loved it. I thought that if I learned it, that people would pay me to teach it to them. The year before that, I was really into handstands, and I learned it myself and figured I'll coach other people who want to learn about handstands. Back then, I thought that if people knew how powerful these things were, they would buy it. And maybe that was true. But the problem was nobody was looking for them in the first place. So I got no clients and no traction. It didn't work because I only had one side of the equation. I had the passion, and I didn't have the problem. Nobody was desperately searching for a handstand coach, and nobody was laying awake at night thinking, if I don't level up my herbalism by next Friday, my life is gonna fall apart. What I eventually realized is that being passionate isn't enough. You also have to solve a real problem for people. That's what separates a hobby from a business. But not all problems are created equal. The ones worth building a business around have one thing in common. They're painful enough that people are already paying money to stop that problem from happening in their life. Think about touching a hot stove. You pull your hand away right away. You don't think about it, you don't weigh your options, you just move. And that's because pain motivates behavior. That's the kind of problem good businesses are built around. It's causing someone real pain, and they're already looking for a way out of it, and they're willing to pay to make it stop right now. So how do you know if you found a question worth building a business around? There's one problem you can ask. Has somebody already spent at least $2,000 trying to solve this problem in their life? That tells you 2 things. One, that the problem hurts bad enough that people are actually willing to do something about it. And 2, they're willing to spend a lot of money for a solution. Take someone with serious acne. They pay for dermatologists, they pay for prescriptions, dozens of skincare products, and spend months dieting to try to figure out what's causing it. They're desperate, they pay almost anything to actually make that problem stop. But somebody who wants better posture, sure, they might buy something off Amazon or try a yoga class, but they're really not that desperate. Most people just live with bad posture, and that's the difference. Good businesses are built around desperate problems, not mild ones. So here's what I do. Take out a piece of paper and write down every industry you have real experience in or that you're just excited about. Fitness, finance, business, relationships, health, whatever it is. Then go to Reddit. Reddit is an anonymous forum where people talk honestly about what's going on in their lives. No filters, no showing off, just real people venting about their actual problems, and it is honestly a gold mine. What's powerful about Reddit is that it's split into thousands of sub-communities called subreddits. And people group themselves into specific problems that they're really trying to solve in their life. So if health is on your list, you can search on Google for the top 100 health subreddits. You'll find groups built around IBS, Crohn's, eczema, insomnia, hair loss, you name it. Each one of them has their own group on Reddit where people are raising their hand and saying that they have this problem and they're wanting to fix it. You're looking for 2 things. A lot of people with the same problem and proof that they're already spending money on that problem. Read the posts. If people are talking about seeing doctors, products they've tried, or programs they've bought, that's a really good signal. When you find a problem that passes both of these tests, and you can honestly say that you're qualified to help these people, that's a great starting point. If you don't have the skills yet, and you're still interested in it, pick the problem anyways, and spend the next few months learning about it. Read books, talk to experts, and use AI to study what's already working as a process for solving that problem. By the end of those 3 months, you'll know more about that problem than most people who are dealing with it, and that's a great start. But the start is also where almost everybody takes a wrong turn, one that quietly costs them the next 3 months. Stage 2 is sell before you build. You can build a course, a website, and a logo before you ever talk to a potential client, or you can get clients first and build all that stuff once you know it works. Most people do option 1. Then they wonder why nothing's working in their business. The first time I made real money in business, I sold something that didn't exist yet. I was tired of failing, and I just wanted something to work. So I asked 10 entrepreneurs that I knew what problems they'd pay for me to solve for them. They all pretty much said the exact same thing, was that they wanted to grow on Instagram and they wanted more followers. I didn't know how to do that, so I spent the next 2 to 3 months learning everything I could. I read books, I watched videos, I got on calls with people who had already figured out a process for that, and I tested everything out on my own account. And none of this was building something to sell. It was just about getting good enough to actually help someone solve this problem. And when I finally felt ready, I went back to these people and I asked them if they still needed help with their Instagram account. Most of them said no, but one of them said yes, and she eventually became my first client. She paid me $2,000 a month, which was more than half of what I was making at my job at the time, and I put all my energy into getting her results. Once I knew that I could get one person to buy this, I figured that 10 more would be able to buy this too. In the next 16 months, that business grew to over $1 million in sales. This worked because I proved people would pay for it before I built a single thing. The lesson here is simple. You have to validate your idea with sales before you ever build it. Think about Tesla. When they announced the first Roadster in 2006, they pre-sold units at $100,000 each before they ever built a single car. They did it for the same reason that you should do it, to prove that people actually want to buy it before you spend years building something that isn't going to work. And validation doesn't mean telling you it's a cool idea or that they'd buy it someday. It means money in your bank account. That's the only thing that proves your business actually works. Most people skip this step because building feels safe. You can spend 3 months building a course or building a website and feel like you're making progress even when you're really just guessing. Talking to real people about a real offer is much scarier, and it's the only thing that actually gets you the answer you're looking for. Here's what your offer needs to actually look like at this stage. 4 simple things: the problem you solve, the result you're promising, how you'll work together, and what it costs. That's it. You don't need to record anything. You don't need to build anything. You only need the concept. You might be tempted to charge less when you're just starting out, but charging less usually comes from fear, not strategy. And cheap clients tend to be some of the hardest clients to work with. They complain the most, they do the least amount of work, and they end up with worse results because the stakes are actually lower. Charging at least $2,000 means you need fewer clients to hit your goals. You can spend more time with each one, and the people who pay you are actually going to be committed to the process. The only thing left that might stop someone from saying yes isn't the price, it's the fear that it's not going to work for them. And you can take that fear away with a guarantee. Not a money-back guarantee, because if it doesn't work, you're going to lose the client and the money. I use what I call a work-for-free guarantee. If they don't get the result they want in the 90 days that you're going to work with them, you can keep working with them for an additional 90 days at no extra cost. Same risk removal for them, but you keep the revenue either way. Here's how to find the first person to pay you. Go back to the same Reddit threads, Facebook groups, and communities where you found the people who had the problem in stage 1. Message 10 or 20 of those people and just say something like, hey, I'm building a business that solves this exact problem that you have, and I'm trying to learn from people who are actually dealing with the problem. Not going to sell you anything. Would love to just chat for 20 minutes and see if you could walk me through your situation. On the call, don't pitch them. Just ask them questions. How long has this been going on for you? What have you tried? What's worked? What hasn't worked? How much have you actually spent trying to fix this problem? And just listen to them for 20 minutes. Then close with, thanks for your time. If there's anything I can ever do to help you, just let me know. What happens next is going to generally surprise you. A good chunk of those people are going to come back and ask later on if you're willing to work with them. And it's because you didn't pitch them. You were the only person who actually spent 20 minutes caring about what they were going through, and people want to work with people who genuinely care about their situation and want to help them solve their problem. When they ask if you're willing to work with them, that's when you bring out your 4-line offer and your guarantee. That's the whole sales process at this stage. No funnel, no webinar, no ads, just 10 to 20 honest conversations with people who have the problem that you're looking to solve, leading with value. Your first paying client is almost always going to come from one of these first 10 or 20 conversations without even trying. You'll know this stage is done the moment you get your first sale, not a verbal yes, but actual money deposited into your bank account. Real money in the bank is the only proof that your offer actually works. Once you've got your first client, you've proven that your offer works, and the next goal is about getting more clients with a repeatable system. So stage 3 is creating that system. To get from 1 client to 10, you don't need a bigger audience, you need more conversations. And one of the best ways to generate those conversations is content. Yes, there are coaches making $10,000 a month with Instagram, but they aren't posting better content. They're literally just talking to more people. Let me explain. Right after I got that first paying client, I picked one social media platform and started posting whatever value I thought I could share at the time. Things like, here's a great Instagram account doing something interesting. Here's what actually is working on the platform right now. Here's how you can apply this to your own business. I wasn't going viral. I wasn't even trying to. I was just showing up with my perspective every day in the same place that my potential clients were at that time. Over time, people started to associate me with Instagram. All those posts were quietly building a brand. And people would message me, we'd get into a conversation, and a lot of those people eventually ended up becoming my clients. Looking back, the content wasn't even good. The thing I had going for me was that I just kept showing up every single day, talking about the same thing to the same kind of person. And that's what made it work. Content isn't what gets you paid. It's just the thing that gets people into your inbox. The actual money is made in the conversation that happens when they message you. So the day after your first paying client, you want to redesign your social media account to be around the problem that you solve. Your bio should name the problem, your content should be about the problem, and every post you make should be about someone living with that real problem. If a stranger scrolls past 3 of your posts, they should walk away knowing this is the person that I'm trying to talk to. There are 3 things you need to focus on at this stage. The first is to pick one platform and stick with it. Pick the one where your potential clients already spend their time. For most coaches and consultants, that's Instagram. The second is to post every single day, even when nobody's watching. The reason this works isn't because any one post is going to change your life. It's because doing it over and over is what builds your reputation as the person who knows their stuff. The third thing you need to do is reach out to 20 or 30 people a day. Not to pitch them, just to start real conversations. And here's what those conversations should actually look like. The first message is just curiosity and leading with value. Always come from a place of value and never spam people with the same pitch. From there, you want to go deeper. Ask about their goals, what they're experiencing, what they've tried so far. Once you have that picture, say something that shows you actually heard them, and only after you understand their goals and how you can help them, can you invite them to a call. This works because it's personal and because you're leading with value. So don't try to spam people or automate this process. The moment you try to automate it, you've killed it. To get from 1 client to 10, the system is simple. Pick one platform, post once per day, and have 20 to 30 targeted conversations. With your proven offer from stage 1, you can hit $5,000 to $10,000 a month organically in just a couple hours a day, as long as you're consistent. And that's enough to finally leave your job and go full-time running your online business. Now, this works fine without spending $1 on ads, but once the system works, ads are how you pour gas on it and take it to the next level. So stage 4 is scaling this system with ads. And I kept trying to layer on all of these scalable systems on top of what we were already doing. We tried free webinars, we tried Facebook group funnels, we tried email sequences, I tried multiple different ad agencies, and we spent a ton of money trying to make paid traffic work. But none of it converted as well as what we were already doing, which was just talking to people and booking calls. Then one day I had the most obvious realization. Why don't I just run messenger ads straight into my inbox? More conversations meant more clients, since I already had something working. So I made one ad on my phone, 15 seconds, no production, no editing, and within 30 days, we grew past $100,000 a month. The reason it worked is because we stopped trying to build a completely new system and finally just did more of what was actually working for us. Most people think scaling means adding something new, but usually it doesn't. Scaling is just about doing more of what's already working for you. A good example of this is In-N-Out Burger. They've basically had the exact same menu for decades. They didn't scale by constantly adding new menu items. They scaled by opening more locations and doing the same thing over and over and over again. And that's really all ads do at this stage. You're just opening up more locations. Even the ad itself was simple, like really simple. 15 seconds, talking directly to the person in the problem. It sounded something like this. If you're this type of person and you have this type of problem, send me the word START and I'll send you over my process for fixing that problem. So you run that ad for $20 or $30 a day. People send you a message on Instagram or on Facebook, and now you're in a conversation. It's the same conversation you were already having organically. You're just having more of those conversations now. And the reason this converts so well is because it's personal from the very first message. When someone messages you through an Instagram ad, you can click through their profile before you even reply. In 5 seconds, you know who they are, what kind of content they're posting, where they're at in life, and what they care about. So instead of sending some generic script, you're talking to a real person about their actual situation. That's something that webinars and email funnels can't really do. But in a direct conversation on social media, you can. So do exactly what I did. Once you're around $5,000 to $10,000 a month organically, and you're ready to get more clients, but you need more conversations to make it happen, make a 15-second video and run it as a messenger ad. Now leads are coming in automatically, clients are signing up, and eventually you hit a wall. Not because the business stopped working, but because at a certain point, you can't physically do everything yourself anymore. You're making content, talking to people, having sales calls, and delivering to your clients. And eventually you hit a max on your time, and that's the next bottleneck. Solving this one is how you finally make it from 6 to 7 figures. Stage number 5 is the view from the top. The first person we hired was someone to handle our conversations in the DMs. At that point, I was spending literally hours a day replying to leads, qualifying people, following up, booking calls, and it worked, but I was completely capped in the business because I was the bottleneck. Before we hired anyone, I documented exactly what I was doing every day. What messages I sent, what questions I asked, how I qualified people, how I handled objections, when I booked calls, and then we hired someone, trained them on that process, and literally sat on Zoom with them while they worked so we could correct things in real time. And almost immediately, it changed the business because now I wasn't spending all day in conversations anymore. I could focus on sales calls and actually growing the company. And that's when things really started compounding. Most people hire someone, explain the role quickly over a call, and then get frustrated when the person can't do their job properly. But you can't hire someone to run a process that doesn't exist yet. You have to build the process first, then hire someone to run it. And in practice, that just means documenting exactly how the role works, not a vague idea, an actual process that someone else can follow. Then once you hire, you train them properly, you can watch them work, you can correct things in real time until they can run it without you. The order matters. The first person that you hire is usually the person who's going to be handling conversations and booking the calls. That's going to free you up on the sales side. The second person you want to hire is a closer who can take over those calls. That frees you up so you can focus on working on the actual business. And the third hire should be someone on fulfillment or coaching. And at that point, you've basically replaced yourself from the day-to-day operations. You don't need to do it all at once. You just need to identify the biggest bottlenecks and replace yourself there, and then repeat the process. Most people wait too long to hire someone because they think they need to be ready and they're addicted to doing it themselves. But if you're doing $20,000 or $30,000 a month and running out of time every day, that's usually the signal. Before that, you normally don't have enough data to even know what the process should be. So first, do the role yourself, then document it, refine it, hire someone, and train them to do it properly. You'll know this stage is working when the business can still make money without you being involved every hour of the day. Over the last 4 years, my wife and I have grown our business Smart Coach from $0 to $30 million by following these 5 stages in order. We didn't start with a massive audience or a secret advantage. We just solved the right problems in the right order and slowly replaced ourselves as the bottleneck at each stage.